Hey everybody, hope you guys are healthy and safe. So Xiaomi products, at least for the first 5 to 7 years of their existence, used to be known for its very affordable pricing. But that's not the case anymore, as the newer Xiaomi flagship phones, especially the highest tier Ultra, basically cost as much if not more than a Samsung or Apple devices. And that is happening with Xiaomi sub-brand POCO too. The phones have gotten better, but the price has gone up too. This is the POCO F7 Ultra. I don't know the exact official price yet, but I've been given hints that it's around 650 US dollars. So this is converted from the euro price. So that would make this the most expensive POCO device yet by some distance. But at the same time, POCO's giving you more than it's ever given you. So I still think this is a good value, high value device. But at the same time, you can no longer call this a super affordable phone at $650. So what do you get for $650? So you have a 6.7-inch WQHD plus OLED display, 120 Hz, gets over 3000 nits of maximum brightness. So absolutely a beautiful panel. It's completely flat. Other than the fact it's 100% flat, there's nothing that separates this panel from like the panel in the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. You also have a relatively premium design, a matte glass back with an aluminum frame, also has a matte coating. All the buttons are very clicky, and an ultrasonic in-display fingerprint scanner. So all these are top-notch components, but at the same time, nothing new. POCO has given you an excellent screen and construction at a low price for a while now. So what is the reason why this phone jumped up in price by a little bit? So 3 things. Number 1 is you have a dedicated telephoto zoom lens now, 2.5x zoom, about 60mm, and it has a floating telephoto design similar to the lens in the Xiaomi 15. So that means you can get a minimum focus distance of like quite a bit closer than a conventional telephoto lens. The second thing, this phone's powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite. So this is the absolute highest tier chip on the Android side right now. Like previous POCO devices, maybe to, cut costs a little bit, would give you a MediaTek chip or Qualcomm chip from 1 year ago. This is not the case. This is absolutely the highest tier chip. And then number 3, this phone has a brand new chip self-designed by Xiaomi called the VisionBoost D7. So this is a 12nm chip whose entire job is to help the phone handle graphics. Now the VisionBoost doesn't handle the graphics entirely. It shares the load with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite. So that means instead of putting the entire load of pushing out graphics on one chip, this phone's doing on 2 chips. And as a result, you get a little bit more power. You get a little bit more like a stronger foundation off which to boost the graphics. And to that end, POCO has designed a couple of tricks. So number 1, there's this thing called smart frame rate that intelligently pushes the frame rate higher than I guess what was possible before. So for example, on Genshin Impact, on the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, that game can only run at 60 FPS, completely maxed out. On the POCO F7 Ultra, POCO advertises it can run at 120 FPS. Now from my testing, as you can see here with the frame rate counter, it doesn't quite reach 120 FPS continuously. It kind of bounces between 100 FPS and 120 FPS. So I guess you can say the average is about 110 FPS. So you can say the average frame rate, it's about 110 FPS. So this is quite a bit higher than what the S25 Ultra can offer, and also the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which kind of averages out to about 100 FPS. So you can say this phone can run Genshin Impact at an average frame rate of about 110 FPS, compared to the S25 Ultra's 60 FPS. And S25 Ultra is more than double the price of this guy. If you are into gaming, this phone's definitely more than equipped for that. I do wish POCO had just gone the whole way and put like a dedicated shoulder trigger button right here just to enhance the experience. But otherwise, I play a bunch of other games like NBA 2K, Devil May Cry. Everything ran perfectly. And you just use this as a normal phone. The POCO F7 Ultra definitely is more than powerful enough for the job. Like social media, sending emails, texting, everything works. There's also a new antenna design that gives it slightly better Wi-Fi reception than on something like an iPhone. And I definitely noticed that in my apartment. If I exit my apartment and I go out to the lobby area where the elevator is, this phone has more bars than on the iPhone. Now let's talk about the other thing that makes this phone ultra, the telephoto lens. I'm happy to report the telephoto lens is actually really good. I'm someone that don't like shooting photos with the main camera anymore because 23 FPS is a little bit too wide. So the telephoto lens at 60mm does give you a much better reach. You get better framing for your photos. You get a little bit better background compression, and you get a little bit of natural bokeh too. And as mentioned, this is also a tele macro lens, so I was able to get some beautiful macro shots. I believe this is the same Tele lens used in maybe the Xiaomi 15 or the Xiaomi 14, and that was a really good zoom lens. The main camera, 50 megapixel, 1/1.5 inch image sensor, not the largest, but the f1.6 aperture is pretty fast, and overall the main camera performs really well, with really good stabilization too if you're shooting with the main camera. If you're shooting video with the telephoto lens, during the day with good daylight you still get pretty good stabilization, but then at night it does get a little bit janky. The ultra-wide camera is solid, however, when you're shooting video, you cannot shoot 4K with the ultra-wide camera, which is a little bit frustrating. You're watching main camera footage of the POCO F7 Ultra, and then you have a 2.5x zoom. So this lens can also get a very close minimum focus. Back up to the main camera. Now there's a 5,300 mAh battery in here, and again for regular phone use it's more than enough to last you all day, but if you're a heavy gamer then your mileage will vary. It depends on how much you game. But for me, this is a phone that I can take outside all day of shooting, playing a little bit of games, texting, social media, and I can finish the day with like more than 25% battery left. There's also fast charging. The phone can charge at 120 watt speed, but the charger is now only included in certain regions. In Europe, you may not get the charger, I think due to EU regulations, but in Asia, you will get the charger 120 watt. And there's also wireless charging, 50 watt, but you have to use Xiaomi's proprietary charger to get that speed, but any other Qi wireless charger will charge the phone. And there's also IP68 water and dust resistance. So overall, this is a flagship phone per se, except for maybe the zoom lens being just a conventional telephoto instead of a periscope. And also one other thing I noticed is that the USB-C port, it doesn't support display output. So that means if I plug in like a pair of AR glasses, it does not mirror the screen. So that's unfortunate, because I think for a phone that you can play games with, it would be nice to be able to output to an external monitor. But that's some of the areas that Xiaomi had to compromise on to meet a lower price range, because again, you can't expect everything here to be top notch, then the phone will be $1,000. On the software front, this phone runs Android 15 with HyperOS 2.0.4 on top. HyperOS, I've talked about it plenty of times. I like it. It's a smooth, fun, whimsical UI. It doesn't get in the way of Android, but I like ColorOS on Oppo devices a little bit better. ColorOS has a better multitasking system that dynamically zoom in and out of a grid. You don't have that here. And ColorOS just has more gestures. Like from the lock screen, you can draw a circle to launch a camera. You can like do all these like finger gestures to play music, launch an app, all that. You don't have that here. Like you can't even double tap on the screen to lock the phone, which is one of my pet peeves. I like to be able to double tap to lock the screen. And also, Xiaomi's settings page is still a little bit complicated. Like for example, I'm someone that every time I get a phone, I like to change the display timeout to like 2 minutes instead of the default 30 seconds. And then on here, it's like the display timeout, it's not listed in the display section, but listed in the always on display section, which is a complete separate panel. So it always takes me like 10 extra seconds to find that setting. Whereas on any other Android phone, on a Pixel, on a Samsung, on an Oppo, on a Vivo, I can find that immediately. Xiaomi's settings is just a little bit more complicated than all the other Android phones I mentioned. But minor nitpicks. Otherwise, this UI is fine. Xiaomi has some AI features here like generative AI photo eraser that works pretty well. Multitasking, not as good as Oppo, but it's good enough. You can still launch an app in a floating window and move it around. You can launch an app in multiple like split screen grids, and that's awesome because when I use a Pixel phone, I'm really frustrated that I cannot launch an app in a floating window. So I don't want to say that I don't like HyperOS. I'm just saying it's not my absolute favorite Android skin. So overall, the POCO F7 Ultra is a very well built and premium for its price tag device. But I do think you should only get this device if you are a heavy gamer and you care about things like getting the highest frame rate possible, because otherwise there are other devices out there, you know, even from Xiaomi's own family, like the Redmi devices or the non-ultra version of this, like the POCO F7 Pro or like a Nothing Phone 3A, that will give you equal, if not better, camera performance and still a pretty good screen, pretty good design for a little bit less money. Because $650 does put this phone now in upper mid-tier category. This is not an affordable phone anymore. And for POCO fans, $650 may be too much to spend really. So it depends. If you care about gaming, this phone does what it's advertised and it offers more gaming power than the $1,300 S25 Ultra. So yeah, that's about it for this review. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. I have a lot more coming, so please stay tuned. Thanks for watching.